Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vince Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryan. We were talking about roller coasters of love.
Yeah.
Enjoying the differences between a theme park and what's the other one?
An amusement park.
An amusement park. Because a lot of us were like, wait a minute, there's a difference. And Jill was like, yeah, I'll tell you all about it. Go back and listen to the pre-show. You're one of our beautiful patrons to find out, or you can Google it. I'm not your boss. Do what you want. So, plenty to talk about this week. We, as usual, have 4 fun little stories, but another thing we're just getting into it right when we went live is like logins and like losing things, and you're like, oh no, and Jill had a Vivaldi issue, clearing out the cache, losing everything. And I think we've all done that at some point. You know, you hit Control-Shift-Delete. Be careful if you have a browser open right now, because you're like, wait, what's that menu? I haven't seen that before. That'll give you the options to like nuke and pave just for your browser. I had a similar issue with that, not with like the login I was talking about during the live stream here at the beginning, but I have a dedicated, the programmer monitor, right? The one that is in portrait, not landscape.
Yeah.
Over here to my left, I use it for show notes, and I got a bunch of different things like pinned up in the tabs, like Google Drive, Photos, Docs, and like stuff I need quick access to when I'm in here working. I was reading a script the other night, so I unpin the tab and I drag it over to this big ginormous monitor as I'm reading off, like working on it, going through the beats, and I get done with it. Now, I'd never done this before. I guess it's always been reflex to like grab that window and drag it back up on the tab bar and let it get sucked back in. I just closed it. Like, this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I need to shut everything down. Go to bed. I'm done in here. And when I opened Chrome up the next time, it had lost all my little pin tabs.
Oh.
It was all gone. Like, it just opened up. Like, I sit there, Jill Bryant, in shock and disbelief. I'm like, that can't be. I will just close Chrome. What is it? Chromium Beta. I think it's Chromium. Let me see. Which one are you? Who am I throwing under the bus? Chromium. That's who I'm throwing under the bus. And I closed it and I opened it again. I'm like, well, it'll pop up. And it didn't pop up. So I had to go and find everything that I
go through a history list
and pull it back up. And it was kind of wild. Also, give everybody a pro tip. If you use Davinci Resolve, if you've been thinking about using Davinci Resolve, stay away from the beta 1 of Davinci Resolve 20. For the first time in a long time, it's just got some game breakers in there. There's your heads up. And the reason I say that, especially if you're running Davinci Resolve 19, you have to do a database upgrade. Back up your database if you want to play with it, because if you don't, you won't be able to downgrade to 19. You'll be stuck on like 20 and you're just going to have to ride it out, man. How about you, Jill Bryant? What's going on? I saw you posting some pictures of the dress-up game that you like to play. It's dress up and landscaping.
Yeah, it sure is.
In the background.
Yeah, so I've been really enjoying playing Genshin Impact as usual. In fact, I was telling Ven earlier, I have a lot of games I want to play, but I'm just kind of stuck right now in Genshin Impact. But I just unlocked 2 new lands on the map, and I'm really having fun exploring. And they're beautiful, and your magical abilities are very different from the other lands. So that's been exciting. And there's these huge like dinosaur creatures. They're really beautiful. They actually kind of look like some of the ones from No Man's Sky. So I was really impressed.
No Minsky.
Yeah.
I like my dinosaurs to be robots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's cool too, actually. And then also I wanted to give a shout out. My friend Monica Aans Madden from our Patreon chat, and my bestie in Atlanta who works at Thunderbird, she sent me snail mail, Vin. I got snail mail. This beautiful card with a flower on the front that looks like a California poppy. And she wrote me a nice letter. It was so neat. Nice to get just a classic card and letter in the mail.
Hipsters sitting there with your old technology. And did she write it in cursive? Monica, did you write it in cursive?
Yeah, she wrote it beautifully with very special ink. It's really, really beautiful.
You got to write in cursive. That way the kids can't read it. It's a old people code.
Old people code.
Yeah, they have no idea what it says. They think it's like Elven writing. They're like, what?
Aww.
They can't read it. I'm not even joking. Like 10 years ago, I was joking. Nowadays, not joking. They can't read
not
it.
Joking.
It's not taught.
Yeah.
Like it is a lost language.
True. Yeah, handwriting, and I still, in fact, I still mostly handwrite. Other than I print too, but I still mostly use handwriting when I'm writing notes, and I guess that is unique now. Well, she also sent me this really cute "Don't worry, be happy" sticker in the card. It's bee themed.
Is it poisonous? Venomous,
well,
maybe?
I guess bees can be poisonous and venomous, but these are cute little bees. And I was thinking of, we have someone named a Busy Bee in chat, and I was thinking of you, a Busy Bee, because I thought that was just perfect. And so everyone knows, I actually have a bee-themed computer setup. It's that right behind me, there's a yellow case, and I have a lot of bee stickers on it, and I've themed the whole case, and the keyboard and mouse are yellow, and the mouse pad's bee theme, my desktop, and I love that computer, and this is obviously going to go on that computer, my bee themed one. Sometime I should give Vin a picture of it so he can show it. Because you can't really see behind all my wall of penguins here.
And
I have three.
I mean, you don't have to get too stressed out, because neither can everybody listening.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, like you can point as hard as you want, but they're like, they have no idea, man.
Behind my penguin.
By the way, audio
army
listeners, Jill is pointing with like seriousness too.
Yes, I was. Behind my penguin army are two beautiful setups. One's a bee one, and one's very kawaii, which is one of my styles. But you can't really tell. You could see a little bit of it. And I even have a computer that is inspired by Portal back there. So I've shown that before on the show. But yeah, for those of you on audio, you don't know what we're talking. You can't see what we're talking about. Yeah. It's a yellow box, but it's a beautiful computer with lots of bee stickers on it.
All my PCs are computer themed, but I'll spare you. Let's go ahead and hop into it. We got some Linux Mint news that Jill's going to tell you about, and I'm going to try to make some sense of it at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So the upcoming Linux Mint Debian Edition 7, or LMD7, will have OEM support, like the Linux Mint Ubuntu Edition actually already has. Having OEM support means that the LMDE can be pre-installed on computers, which is very significant because OEM installs are usually for operating systems intended to be shipped with new hardware. Brian over at betanews.com states, it's how companies preload Linux on laptops without setting a username, password, or time zone. When the customer first powers the machine on, they walk through a setup wizard just like they would on Windows or Mac OS. And a lot of those in our Linux community already know this because they are doing this at their jobs. But for new users to Linux, they may not know how that is done. So LMDE, actually, which is based on Debian, has been described as a contingency release, but now may have a much bigger role. The Beta News article suggests that the addition of OEM support for LMDE could indicate that the Mint team is considering a new future direction. LMDE might be developed to eventually replace the Ubuntu-based version of Mint, as some users prefer Debian-based Mint over the Ubuntu-based version. This article actually has some great points, but having been a user of both the Linux Mint Ubuntu and the Debian versions, traditionally the updates for the Debian version are at a slower pace, so making both versions have the same capabilities usually takes them a bit longer. But yes, there is still a no default snap policy on Linux Mint Ubuntu, who opted instead to use Flatpaks. And you can install the non-snap Chrome on Linux Mint Ubuntu. And that has been in the news for a while, and we've talked about it here on LWDW. And but honestly, I look forward to the future of Linux Mint, whether Ubuntu or Debian or both, because it is one of the best Linux distributions to bring new users to Linux. But this article has a lot of great points. It is very possible maybe they are looking into the Debian version more. So, it would make sense.
I saw these videos and it has them based on nothing at all. It's based on speculation. It's based on red yarn on a wall. Even all you got to do is head over to the Mint blog, and what do they say? They're like, hey, by the way, everybody, regular, ordinary Ubuntu-based Linux Mint, guess what? Like Ubuntu, it's already got OEM support built into it. They're like, we would like to bring our Debian version up to par with the one that we already have.
Yes.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the end of the story right there. Everything beyond that part of the story is the red yarn with UFO alien, I want to believe, fanfic. Yeah. They're like, let me tell you what this could really mean. I'm like, cool, I'll listen to your extrapolation of okay, that. But no, why would you want to do that? Well, there is no proper existing OEM install for Debian. Ask the internet's going to be like, nope. You might find one or two old, outdated GitHub repos and some hacks. You can kind of make it work with a lot of extra work, but it's just not something Debian supports. So I think that is a good feature for Mint to have. If you're getting ready to just hand off a computer, to donate it, to make it easy to set up, and you're like, I don't want to give them a Chromebook, you can do that. They get the PC. What do? It has that screen of hey, create your account, give me a username and login. But here you go, and everything's set up for you, as opposed to here's how you install an operating system, because that's going to scare some people off. And listen, I know we've all been there of if you've ever had to ship a computer to family or friends, you're like, okay, give me a username and password. I got to set up an account for you. And of course they do. And I'm like, remember to change that. They never will. So that puts the ball back in their court, which is good. Now, again, no, Mint is not going to be dropping Ubuntu. Ain't happening. Maybe if you want to wish it into being, feel free to do it. But this is Mint bringing the Debian edition of Mint up to parity. With their existing offerings, which I also think is good. Now, this made me go to a site that I haven't been to in a long, long time. Jill, I'll give you one guess. What website did I go to?
The Linux Mint blog?
Incorrect.
Aww.
No points for Jill.
Oh, okay.
I went to DistroWatch. Why?
Oh, yeah.
DistroWatch, I was like, hey, I'm going to keep track of... Okay, first I went, man, I haven't been to DistroWatch in a long time. Is our podcast still on the front page? Yes, it is, Jill. Oh, that's... but then I went to the distro tracker and is Mint always at the top? I think Mint has been at the top of that...
for years.
DistroWatch distro tracker for people who visit their website. Yeah, since I can remember. And of course it is. And I'm like, how? I want to know exactly how that's sussed out, because I don't know anybody. And guess what? I know a few people running Linux these days, but I don't know anybody mainlining Mint anymore. Now, that would have been different a decade ago, which is an awfully long time. These days, people are playing around with, Bazzite and the Fedora spins and Arch, Manjaro, all these other things. I just don't hear Linux Mint brought up in the conversation as often, but it's still out there. It's still kicking. It's a great alternative. Yeah. I've never understood the logic of basing a distro off of a distro that's based on a distro. It's it makes sense basing, what Ubuntu did. And Ubuntu's let's base it off Debian. Got it. But I've never understood, let's base a distro off Ubuntu, which is based on Debian. And I'm like, so what if somebody came up with another distro that was based on Mint, which is based on Ubuntu, which is how far down the cycle? You understand the layers of, because when you do things hey, we're going to base our distribution on things like Ubuntu. Ubuntu might show up to the party one night, kick the door in, and be like, enjoy snaps. And you're like, I don't like snaps. I was like, well, too bad. And you're going to do a lot of extra work. Now, moral of the story, everybody, just install Debian or whatever else you got running, because it's fine. Don't worry about it.
This is true. But Linux Mint, they have their flagship desktop, Cinnamon, which was an answer to when Ubuntu was shifting from GNOME to Unity and that whole thing. So so we got Cinnamon out of that, and I do love Cinnamon. Cinnamon is actually one of my favorite desktops.
It's options.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you can put Cinnamon. I've put a Cinnamon on Ubuntu as well.
I put cinnamon tea.
Yeah, cinnamon tea. As well as Ubuntu Mate and all the others.
That's rough, man. You get it on the computer, it's sticky.
Yeah, sticky.
Gets in the
but
fans.
That's the thing is, like Ven was saying, you have your Linux base. Like I love using Debian based or Ubuntu based distros, and then I just put whatever desktop manager on it I want to use for the day. So like right now I'm on
Jill, you got to get rid of that
Window
based.
Maker.
Based is not based.
Yeah.
You got to come back to the source eventually.
Aww.
Eventually, you just end up on Debian.
I know. Most of my computers actually have Debian on them, but
and if you use Debian long enough, you'll switch back to Fedora. No, actually, here's the path. Once you start going down the path of like, I'm running Debian, you start eyeballing Rocky Linux.
Yeah, there you go.
You're like, what about longer times between updates, which is a very weird thing to hear somebody say, but when at a certain time, depending on how much work you do with machines, and like you start understanding the value of like a long term. Now, this is the value that Ubuntu brought to Debian with long-term support. And we saw Canonical has doubled down on like what they mean by long-term, right? You can get like 10-year support in that, which is like something you would typically expect from, now Rocky Linux. It used to be CentOS. Well, back in the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's wild. But yeah, moral of the story, I just wanted to get out in front of everybody and be like, don't anybody blow up Linux Mint. Linux Mint's just trying to make feature parity a thing. They're not getting ready to ditch Ubuntu. Yeah. Now, if a Mint comes up tomorrow and they're like, we're ditching Ubuntu, I'm like, you know what? I was wrong, but you should have said something, because they ain't said nothing. That's the point of this story. Now, Jill, you looked around your house sometimes this week and you're like, I don't have enough cables.
Oh, Lord.
This won't stand. I need more cables. I can just imagine you walking around the house covered in cables, hugged up with them. You're like, I love them.
Oh, yeah.
I need more. These are old. I need a brand new cable in my life. And you saw this and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I have to talk about it because it's something else I'm going to add to my collection of, hundreds of computers and thousands of cables, more cables. So there is a new cable standard that we might be seeing in our TVs, our monitors, laptops, and even on the back of our GPU soon. It is called GPMI, or the General Purpose Media Interface, which is a new wired connection standard being developed by the Shenzhen International 8K Ultra High Definition Video Industry Collaboration Alliance. Wow, that's a long one. So this Chinese-based group includes major brands such as Hisense, TCL, and Huawei. GPMI is designed to support 8K and reduce the number of cables required for data and power transmission between our devices, which is really a positive. The General Purpose Media Interface actually will combine fast data transfer up to 192 gigabits per second and power delivery up to 480 watts, which will surpass the capabilities and speed of our HDMI, USB-C, DisplayPort, and Thunderbolt cables. And this is something kind of debatable. The GPMI cable comes in two types. Type B, with a proprietary connector, and Type C, which is compatible with USB-C. which is awesome. I kind of wish it would just had one hole, a Type-C hole, but it has two. GPMI Type-B has a maximum bandwidth of 192 gigabits per second and can deliver up to 480 watts of power. GPMI Type-C has a maximum bandwidth of 96 gigabits per second and can deliver 240 watts of power, which surpasses the 40 gigabits per second data limit of USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4. So, yay, it's faster. And I think this is cool because, really imagine being able to combine both power and content to a TV over a single cable, or a TV to send power and audio to a connected soundbar, or having a gaming monitor that could provide power to a connected gaming laptop. That's really convenient. And I am actually, though I'm very sad that this is a proprietary format like HDMI, but not a bit surprised. And it's not open like DisplayPort, but I look forward to a new, more powerful standard, which is great. I just wish it would exist in the, keep it at in the USB-C whole standard. So we don't have to change cables again.
This thing needs to be a triangle.
Yeah.
Think about it, everybody. We got VGA, DVI, DisplayPort, HDMI, USB-C, Thunder Noodles.
Yeah.
And now we're going to add another one on top of that. And it
Yes.
might even be a sneaky one that kind of looks like a USB-C. And right, great, because USB-C, that's just one cable that does one thing, right? Right?
Yeah.
No, not at all. So I already have so many cables laying around. This is like ridiculous. Like what I read off starting from that's just what I have in my tech closet over here, going from left. I like cracked it up. I'm like, yep, got that.
Yeah.
I will only allow this. I will only champion this because I know this will never happen. But if you could make this happen, we have to get rid of Thunderbolt, USB, HDMI, DisplayPort, and ultra-wide SCSI 2, just because I had an ultra-wide SCSI 2 cable in there. They have to be abolished. They have to be gone. All new TVs, all new PCs, all new home entertainment, anythings can only use
One standard.
GPMI. And you can't even have two versions of that. No, I'm not even going to allow that. You get one. I want this universal cable because there's no technical reason we shouldn't just have motherboards, TVs, mobile devices, keyboards, audio interfaces with just one plug, one type of plug. I should turn around the back of a modern motherboard and it's 16 of that one plug if I so bought that model. But we don't have that. You look on the back of a motherboard. Now, we've standardized. We made it, USB-C is maddening because people confuse USB-C cables with USB-C. I run into this all the time on audio interfaces. They're like, it's USB-C. And I'm like, yeah, but it's USB 2 with a USB-C connector. They're blank stare, man. USB 3, USB 4 is going to save us. No, it didn't. Not even a little bit. It's getting just as confusing as USB-C. The closest thing we've had, if you really want to get mad about it, is Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was controlled well enough to where it's standardized. Now, most of us haven't played with it because, it was an i product, but Intel did very good with it. A couple of, we did see a lot of devices outside of like audio and high-end video, but eGPUs, everything could have had Thunderbolt on it. If Intel had just opened that up properly in the earlier days, we could just have one Thunderbolt port everywhere.
Yeah.
But we don't. And you're like, but this is a display. This can do data, all of this stuff. Like, because if you got it like a USB-C display cable, like that's cool, man. That's cool. I got that plugged into one of these like 13-inch monitors here on the desk. It's just one cable of what Jill was saying. It sends power too, right?
Yeah.
You just plug it in, it cuts on. You're like, oh, that's super cool. But and I thought we were going to kind of get that future. I got a 2060 with the what did Valve called it, the VR port?
Oh yeah, there
Yeah,
was
it had
that
a
too.
USB-C display cable port on the back of that 2060. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It worked just like USB-C, but it also worked as a monitor and it provided power. And I'm like, dude, this future is going to be interesting. Nah.
And then isn't it funny that they're finally coming back to, the delivery? I mean, I'm sorry, but it is a kind of new to have the power and the data on the one cable. But back in the day, if you remember, our power supplies, we could pinwheel the power. So I used to be able to hook up my monitor to my power supply on my computer.
I mean, electrically, like, your PSUs had, it basically had power pass through, man.
Yeah. And I wish, that's something I was hoping would be in the future, but we don't have that.
Nah, man. I'm on part of the lighting rig that runs across the back of the studio. There's like these poles that run up and they have like the cranks on them. Yeah. I got like one of these cranks it's nothing but a bundle of different USB cables, man. Of like, because like we've been through it, when you think like type A, but I'm talking like USB mini, USB micro, like all the little weird ones that you might need. It's maddening. If we just go to one standard, I'd be happy with it. I'll even accept getting rid of all these cables and buy new hardware. And something like this is going to be hard, like to the point though. Yeah. Like, what vendors did they say they had with them?
TCL, Huawei.
Oh, and Huawei. This might take off in like China.
Yeah.
I could see them making a big push over here. This is going to be something like that. Because everything's HDMI, and I hate HDMI, mind you. HDMI, I don't like the connector. I don't like the connector. Why? Because
and it's closed standard.
Exactly. But we've just decided for the last 20 years, and they've done good with it being a closed standard because the first HDMI cable that you ever bought will work with whatever HDMI, backwards compatibility. Don't believe the upselling on Amazon. There's no such thing as an 8K Ultra Oxygen. Like HDMI is HDMI. There's no extra wires in there, man. Now they might be different links that you can get away with running 4K over them. Different story. But like when you get to like your sound bars, audio receivers, and everything's got an HDMI port on it.
Yeah.
Oh, might be a long time. We have the better standard because Jill said DisplayPort. DisplayPort is open at higher bandwidth, and I thought that was going to take off.
Yeah, me too. It's so depressing.
Before display, like things got weird, dude. I got like an NVIDIA card, like a 500 series, like 485 something. It's got 3 mini HDMI outs on it, or 4.
Oh boy,
it's weird, dude. It's got like a licensing VGA
problem.
I have no idea what's going on with it. I remember when I bought it, I'm like, what are these? I'll never use these. It must have VGA or DVI on it. But yeah, another standard, another cable. That's going to do it for that. Let's go ahead and talk about some single board computer nonsense because it's a slice of pie segment we like to get into. This one's not traditional pie. This is a risky pie. Mm-hmm. Because Orange Pi, I have not one around me. I got a couple of Orange Pi things. Orange Pi reached out a couple of weeks ago, might have been about a month ago, and they're like, hey man, we got an Orange Pi RV2. Would you like to play around with it? And I looked it up, and I'm like, I don't know. It's 8-core RISC-V AI, 2 tops. Which is like a Lamborghini with hem for wheels. Like, what are you going to do with 2 tops? But it's there, it's like one of those weird features. Anywhere from 2 to 8 gigajoules of DDR4. It's got M.2, and I was like, okay. And it's got the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built in, dual gig LAN, USB, all the stuff that you would normally expect, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's cool. But if you notice what I do with my projects on Interfacing Linux, interfacinglinux.com, is I need a project. I need something to do with it. I'm not somebody that's just like, hey, new thing came out. I'm going to wave my hands over it. Go buy, click on my affiliate link. I'm not a very good YouTuber. I fail at it, actually. I need to be able to like do something with it and show that you can get some use out of it. And I'm like, I don't really have a project for this. I looked into it and I'm like, it just seems like too much of a headache. Lo and behold, Canonical showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
a couple of days ago, and they're like, hey, we are going to release an official Ubuntu image for the Orange Pi RV2. It's going to be a real boy. It's going to be a real boy. And I'm like, all right. I think just maybe I could do some projects with that. And then I went reading, exactly what was going on there and what sold me. Because, server image, right? Headless. I'm like, RISC-V, maybe I can do something in there. They also have a desktop image. So 8 cores of RISC-V, 8 gigs of RAM, dual NVMe.
Woohoo.
We can at least play with it and find out what it can do, because the best part about this is these things start at $40.
Yeah.
For the 2 gig version, and like the big baller maxed out version, $70.
Yeah, that's inexpensive.
You say that. I was thinking about this earlier this week. Because let's not pretend, myself included, we all freaked out a little bit when Raspberry Pi 4 came out, didn't we? And it was like $75. We're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was like 73 or whatever the Raspberry Pi 4 was. But even then, it didn't come with like NVMe. The Raspberry Pi 4 didn't.
No.
No, it didn't. So this has got this packed in at like $70. I think it's like $76.
Yeah.
Fascinating, because this is kind of what I've been looking for. It's got GPIO and all that, but something that is cheap enough that you can just pop off and buy, in that range, which it is kind of cheap. How much is a Raspberry Pi 5 these days?
So, around $60 to $70, depending on where you get it.
Let's see. Let's go to, where would be a good place? Adafruit?
Yeah, Adafruit.
All right. We're going shopping, everybody. Let's go to Adafruit. What are we looking for? Raspberry Pi 5.
There's a 3.
So an 8 gig model is going to run you about $80.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the 4 gigs are lower, $20 lower.
16's $120. 4 gigs are $60. No, we can get a Raspberry Pi 4 gig for about $60 or $80. So this can be about $10 less than a Raspberry Pi 5 8 gig. And one of the traditional problems with all of these SBCs, and I've run into this, is people they'll download like Orange Pi OS or Rastas, whatever, and like you should be downloading any of that. You shouldn't be buying anything that's not directly supported by Armbian. Armbian is the app. Jill's running on Armbian right now. So Ubuntu actually throwing their weight behind this. Good to see. That means it's officially going to be in the channel. It's going to get updates. Could be a legitimate contender to, your $80 Raspberry Pi 5, because the hardware's been there for a long time. That's only half the equation. Where everybody drops the ball is on the software side. So this could just be a weird match at the time. Now, traditional Orange, go to Orange Pi's website. I've already like blown up my contacts at Orange Pi. I'm like, you guys need to install an SSL certificate on your web zone. You go to their website, what do you get? A big warning screen that says, don't go here because it's not HTTPS. That's a problem. Because I was talking like when I did the, what was it? I did the Steam on ARM. I used an Orange Pi 5 Plus. They're like, hey, could you include a link to the Orange Pi website? And I said, absolutely not. What do you mean? I'm like, I'm not putting a link on a YouTube video or my website that when a person clicks on it, the first thing they see is a big, ginormous, full-page warning screen.
Yeah.
That's no. And I don't want, and I'm not going to tell anybody, well, just click around that. No, you shouldn't click around that. Even like, because like you could go to a website where your personal identification and stuff could be exposed. I don't think they really have anything on the Orange Pi website. But again, you can download this image. I got one of these coming in the mail. I'm going to poke it. I'm going to prod it. I'm going to shove stuff into it. I'm plug webcams into it, audio interfaces.
Oh, no, this is really wonderful, Vin. I actually was very impressed with how quickly Canonical got this new image out, considering the Orange Pi RV2 board was just released in early March. So that was really fast. fast. Also, the Ubuntu image is available directly from the Orange Pi RV2
Google
webpage.
Drive.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Directly from their Google Drive. Welcome to Orange Pi. Welcome to Razda. Welcome to a lot of these vendors. Where do you go to download it? You go to their G Drive because that's where it's sitting. There's a desktop and server image. Now, and this isn't the first thing. Ubuntu has 8 RISC-V images, and this is going to make number 9.
Yeah, and they'll eventually, Ubuntu will have it on their website as well.
One hopes.
So, yeah, hopefully.
It's going to be interesting to see. The price, being in that price point has got me more excited than anything else for everybody else to be able to play around. I'm going to have to find out just how much grunt, an octo-core, that KYX1 SoC has. And I hope it does really, really well because I can already feel, for whatever reason, RISC-V's got like some strange cult members that will just give you a hard time if you say anything negative about RISC-V. They're like, what are you doing? You're hurting the cause. And I'm like, it's sand, dude. It's electrified sand. It's not a cause. Calm down. We're going to see. I'll do some benchmarks. We're going to see what type of multimedia stuff this thing can get away with. We'll see what the browsing's like. Maybe if I can get Quake 3 up and running on it, we'll find out. Just stay tuned, everybody. There we go. Good price.
Awesome.
Don't run out and buy one until I played with it. Or do. Like I said at the beginning of the show, ain't you, boss?
Yeah.
In July of last year. So that's been a couple of last years.
Yeah.
We talked about the Tuxedo ARM notebook powered by old Schnappe, the Snapdragon X Elite, which was like their super cool new chip. And, there was dev kits, and then there wasn't dev kits. And we've seen a bunch of laptops come out with that. And I mean, this is just a baller SoC. This is like M1, M2 level. Well, it's been a little while. Let's say M1 plus level, if you've played with an Apple M1, you just shut up. You're like, okay, I get it. This is pretty fast. I got that Orion 06. It's got an avalanche of problems, but one of them is not being fast. It is just a whole different class than what you're normally accustomed to playing around with ARM, at least in the home. Well, they said, there was that little image at like one of the tech demo places, with a little sign on it. And they're like, hey, we're going to put a Snapdragon. We're going to make a laptop. And they're getting there. There was an update. There was an update on it, man. So they've basically got the device tree submitted to the kernel critters, the lovely, huggable, squeezable kernel developers. And, that's the skeleton to bring up, basically everything else. And they walk through a little blog post. There'll be a link down in the show notes and the video description that they're beginning to work on that part B of like bringing up all the devices, your display, USB-C, all the things that are going to be attached to the tree. Now, they originally wanted to work with Qualcomm, naturally, Snapdragon, to like maybe work something out and see if they could help with like engineering. And, I don't know any of the details, but that just would be my educated guess. And that kind of fizzled out. So they got their eyeballs set for Lenovo.
Yeah.
A Lenovo notebook. All right. A high-powered ARM notebook, because like the idea of that sounds really good. There's the Pine 64 laptop thing, which is interesting, but to have a fully supported Linux laptop running one of these modern Snapdragons would be super cool. Not just in the performance, but in that, hey, I don't need to charge this halfway through every day or at the end of every night. I can let it run for 3 or 4 days, then plug it in. What do you think about this, Joe?
Oh, gosh. I actually am just so happy Tuxedo Computers came out with this update, because I've been curious and wondering, since their, Qualcomm's Snapdragon X Elite laptop, it had been so highly anticipated. You remember, Ven, we saw an image of it at Computex from last year.
Is that where it was? Okay, I remember seeing that photo, yeah.
That was, and the whole Linux community, we all got excited because Snapdragon is coming to a Linux manufacturer, Tuxedo Computers. So this is a really, really big deal. And it was wonderful to get this update because, again, they said it might be coming out by the end of last year, but due to delays, couldn't. And now we know why. So, but I have a feeling we might get it this year. So that's good.
I don't. I've become very familiar with watching. I've been watching the Orion 06, which is like that ARM v9 SoC I have on a motherboard that I'm looking at right now on the other side of the room. I've been watching CIX, the ARM company that put this thing together, following the kernel mailing list as they're trying to get all the bits needed just to get support for the kernel. And I'm like, whoo. That's a slog. I've never seen like a new architecture, it kind of come in. But we did get some good news on the 06 front. Collabra, they're working on the Mesa bits, and they got the PanVK stuff for the Rockchip 3588. They got it, I think it's at full 1.1 or 1.1, might be 1.2 compliance for Vulkan, which is dope. And they said, with the Orion 06, they played around with some stuff. They got some other patches to get that working with Mesa. They had a demo of it. Collabra left me a message on my YouTube video. I'm like, hey, what's going on? So dope. I love to see it. I like ARM options, like a good meaty. Linux just makes so much sense. Like Windows on ARM, I don't. Never say never, but it's going to take a long time. And like Windows is going to have to come up with like a serious, big, chunky compatibility layer to deal with a lot of their applications that we don't have to deal with on Linux. Why? Because a large chunk of the applications that you're going to be running on a Linux desktop are open source. Relatively, simple to get an ARM build of it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's not a problem. That's not the case on Windows, man.
Yeah.
So all these apps and stuff like that, there's just going to be compatibility. So it always made sense to like move towards or try to get a Linux laptop going and like with ARM on it. Yeah, let's do it. Or RISC-V, whatever. I'm sure like RISC-V, people are going to show up and be like, what about RISC-V? I'm like, oh, pay attention. Stay tuned. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for showing up.
Yay.
All we got to do now is get the music going on.
Our wonderful, bouncy LWDW music. And thank our patrons like our advisor, our Theron, our executive producers, the Targos, Barbrandt, Scott, Atomic, Drummer 7, KR Decky, our Chicago Kicks Mules level, Glorious Egg Roll, Basil, Empty, our Sea Monsters, Vera Tenuta, Treggy, our Death Notes, Turnover, Martin, Renee, Leonardo, Dodger, Kim, Chris, our Chairlings, Mir PPC, and it went by so quick. Oh gosh,
I made them bigger.
Yeah, you did actually make them bigger, but the blue I still can't read.
I saw you run into that wall. You're like,
I can't read it all.
All right, beautiful people. Have a great rest of your week. Like and subscribe the video, YouTube, all that. Come say hi in the comments. We'll be around.
Aw, love you all.